Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cosmic Owl Astrology, Weirdly Cosmic podcast for the Aquarius New Moon 2024 that takes place on February the 9th at 20 degrees 40 minutes Aquarius. So first of all, though, I pulled cards, but before I dive into all that, please subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, maybe leave me a comment as well. I always read comments and reply to most of them. I appreciate all your support, but all these things can help the, the visibility of the video if you do that. So, and also if you wouldn't mind watching to the end, that would be even better. Awesome. So anyway, let's dive in. So, as I said, this Aquarius new moon is on February the 9th. It's the first Aquarius new moon with Pluto in the sign of Aquarius. And so it's a pretty big one, as the full moon was really big as well, that we've just come out of the Leo full moon. So let's look at the cards. I always look at cards first. So I shuffled the deck using the Tree Devia deck that I've been uh, learning to understand. And there's, as always, there's a discount in the description for 10% off this deck if you like the look of it. A couple of people have already bought it and they're really liking it. And I'm actually liking it more and more. And one of the signs of whether I like a deck is whether it seems tuned in or whether I seemed tuned into it. And the card I pulled from the deck just before I started the recording feels very attuned. So I pulled the Judgment card. Now, this is card number 20, and this new moon is at 20 degrees. And I promise I just shuffled and pulled this. So this is Judgment. Okay, so I'll let you have a good look at it. You can see the couple down there, the people kind of looking up at the angels' judgment, if you like. You can see the hammer, like the judge's hammer coming down in the middle. Anyway, I'll let you kind of look at the imagery, and then we'll go to what the book with the deck says. So this says, this is your call to embrace a higher level of consciousness. It's time to make some big decisions, but if you are in tune with your higher self, trust your judgment and know that the choice that you are making is the right one. Make peace with your past, get closure, and you will be ready for a rebirth. Every action has consequences, but if you're aligned with your purpose, the results will be positive. And the affirmation for this card is, I am tuning into the energy I want to attract. So this is judgment in the way of making your own judgment, really, in respect to what your higher self is telling you is the right choice. And this is going to be a time to make choices based on the higher consciousness we're being called to. I prefer kind of expanded consciousness really than higher. I always think there's kind of that judgment of like lower conscious, higher consciousness, but it's when we know more we do better. You know, that's Maya Angelou's little phrase. When we know better, we do better. So our consciousness is expanding exponentially right now. Now, before I dive into the numbers, I did actually also get called to, because this is a 220, 2 plus 0 is a 2. I actually was called to get this card out of my old trusty toss deck or soft deck. And this is the High Priestess. And this is about trusting your intuition. And this will become evident why I was called to pull this when we look at the symbols. But I honestly was called to pull this before I looked at the symbols. So let's look at the number 2 first. So the number 2 really is the diplomat. It is the peacemaker. 2 is a gentle, kind, calming, insightful, sensitive kind of energy. But 2 is also related to kind of soul mission All right. So, it's got this energy of really stepping into our higher purpose again as well, or that soul purpose. So two is considered to be feminine, and relates to the star sign of Cancer. And the ruling planet of two is the moon, and the high priestess card is symbolic of the energy of the number two. So number two also signifies duality: positive, negative, male, female, day, night, black, white, yin, yang. And it's the principle of coming together. So this is the principle of partnership. So it's all the twos. It's like, the Gemini is 1-1, and all of those kind of things. There's a lot of twos, and there's a lot of twos in the chart. So let's move to the astrology. Okay, so here we go. Oh, let me just. Okay, so here is the new moon. It's at 20 degrees, 40 minutes, Aquarius. Conjunct sorceress Circe, the alchemist, and the witch, the woman in total control of herself. So this is, first of all, where the new moon is. Now, it's actually in a square aspect to Uranus, which is the modern ruler of Aquarius. And Uranus stationed direct on January the 27th and has only moved 5 minutes. So it's only just starting to move forward, and really is still moving pretty slow. So it's a powerful, powerful square on this energy, although I think it's quite up to speed. January 27th, that's almost 2 weeks. So no, maybe Uranus is actually gained speed. And actually, if I look at the chart itself on another site, it does say it's moving fast. So, and Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius, as I said. And Aquarius is that hopes, wishes for the future. It's that futuristic, scientific sign, but it's also the sign that's really about oddly conservative in many ways. It kind of likes the ancient and the antiques, but bringing them in a very modern way. It's also, the Aquarius is the sign of the people in many ways, opposing Leo, which is the sign of royalty in a lot of ways, or the leader, the benevolent leader. But it's the sign of groups, organizations, tribal kind of energy, clan kind of energy. It's that coming together. I always think of Aquarius as well as very quantum. It's kind of that wave energy of two waves of energy making the symbol. And then we have that alchemy of Circe right next to it. But then we have this square to Uranus, the modern ruler of Aquarius. And Aquarius is sudden radical change as well. So, I think this new moon is going to bring more radical change. I think we're in this fast-paced kind of change energy at the moment, or awakening energy, and it's going to increase and increase and increase. You also hear a lot of all planets are direct, all planets are direct, and they are. All the major planets are direct for quite a while. It quite often happens at this time of the year. We've got some asteroids that are retrograde, but the planets are direct. Now, that's, retrogradation is a normal part of the cosmos from our perspective, but it does mean things are moving forward. But it also means the change is coming at kind of blow your socks off speed, and that can be quite discomforting too. Aquarius also really represents the nervous system in so many ways. And Uranus is in Taurus, which is one of the Venus guided signs. And that is kind of perhaps adding to that sense of disturbed nervous system, like this edgy kind of restless, kind of ready for change kind of energy, but it feels very uncomfortable. So you might get knots in your stomach. I remember doing some work with fear of public speaking, and my teacher at the time, she would ask me to feel those butterflies, that knots of like nervousness in my stomach that were making me feel quite ill, quite honestly, as butterflies, but letting those butterflies just float free throughout you. But that means movement. So I think this is really going to be a very restless new moon. You're going to feel on edge. It's in the dark of the moon, so you can, like, nerves could be frazzled. However, we've got this lovely Earth Grand Trine here. So Venus, the guide to Taurus, or the traditional guide to Taurus. I kind of think Ceres has a lot to do with Taurus as well, but that's beside the point. So we've got Venus, Uranus, and Juno in Virgo in an Earth Grand Trine. Now we've been having this Earth Grand Trine over and over and over. Mars and Mercury formed this Grand Trine to Uranus and Juno and Black Moon Lilith some of the time. And now Venus is coming up and she is making this trine. So this is a time to really connect and ground and do that balancing of your nervous system. Do breathing, do your walking, lots of self-care, and that will help you process this restless energy and move those butterflies of massive change around your body, and move that air energy around your body as well, so that the ideas move. You know, I find that when I get in that kind of edgy state, I cannot think straight. You know, it activates my ADD kind of crazy. So I get even more scattered than normal. But this is the way to do it, to tune into this Earth Grand Trine. And then you can alchemize and sift through all these innovative new ideas that are floating around your in the body and in nature and in the cosmos, because we are a system within many systems. Okay. Now, one other aspect that is important is that the new moon is exactly trine Vesta in Gemini, and that is the 2 as well. You know, that is the lover's card. Everything in here is about coming together, okay? But coming together within yourself first. So Vesta, I always think of Vesta on a personal level as I literally visualize it as this kind of flame, maybe a candle flame, but it can also be, you know, on one of those, I don't know what you call it, like oil things with this flame coming up, but just like the symbol, but it's inside you. And this is in air sign. So this is about bringing this swirl of information, Gemini, and new ideas that are coming through and new perceptions that are coming through, and bringing it into you to integrate and alchemize it all inside. And by pulling in all these threads of change, that an awakening that's been happening, and again, kind of processing what it means for you. But the processing involves tuning in to the cosmos as it works within you. All right. So this is really important for this new moon. Now, Mercury is the ruler of Juno and, oh, sorry, Gemini and Virgo. Those series a little bit as well. But anyway, Mercury is in Aquarius as well by the time of this new moon, and is leading the way into it. Mars will be next, Venus will be next, but Mercury is already well into Aquarius as well. So that adds to this swirling nervous energy of ideas floating through you, or thoughts and processing these new perceptions and processing what information is coming in as well, and what that means for you, and kind of how you want to really deal with that and create something new from pulling all those dots together. This is real kind of mind mapping energy, but it's mind mapping it deeply within. And I would do what you can to really kind of bring it all into your center and then let it move around your body with that restless energy, either through, I mean, for me, it's always walking, walking alone so I can process these thoughts. Morning pages, stream of consciousness writing would be really a good idea for this new moon too. But there's a real powerful lineup of all these energies around 20 degrees. So if you have any planets or angles around 20 degrees, particularly of the fixed signs, okay, which are Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, and the mutable signs. And that is Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. You'll be feeling this a lot, okay? And it's probably for many of you, those who are affected by the Venus retrograde with the Venus star point at 20 Leo, August the 13th last year, and anybody who's been affected by this Uranus in Taurus station. You're going to be affected over and over again. But everybody really pretty much is feeling this nervous energy, of course, but some will just feel it more than others. Okay. I'm kind of like, really? Okay, it's me. This is opposite my sun. This is square my Uranus, all that. This is square my sun. This is opposing my Uranus exactly. So, I've had a bit of nervous system frying a lot going on over the last few months, and I can feel it reaching that peak again. But I luckily have learned the tools to really calm that nervous system. A couple of things I want to mention as well, because really that's all I want to say about the new moon. Really, it's frazzling, it's restless, it's energetic, it's electric, it's like awakening, it's like kapow to this idea, kapow to this news possibly as well. But bring it in and process it and bring it down into your body and work with it. Okay. And then we do have a couple of things I want to mention as well. Chiron is now well within orb of the conjunction with the North Node. That's happening just a few days after this new moon. That kind of adds to the nervous energy a little bit. That chironic kind of energy on that North Node in Aries, which is very much about action. It's like wanting to get going. So there is a lot of get going energy. But I think if you don't calm your nervous system, you will find it very hard to actually keep going. It's a bit like the tools I use to kind of calm the ADD so I can focus. We need something to bring us into that focus. Okay. And then I did also want to mention that Saturn has now passed the point at which it turned retrograde back in June 17th, 2023. Saturn has now left that building and is treading new ground, helping us to really kind of build on overcoming those blocks, limiting beliefs, self-limiting beliefs and things, and move forward into kind of mastering faith and trust in the universe is kind of what it feels like to me. Also at 7 degrees, we have that Mercury in Aquarius, but they're all in a bit of a dance with Jupiter over here. So we've got Saturn, Jupiter, and Mercury pretty much all working together to help us process those ideas and thoughts as well. And this is really, everything is coming down into balancing this mind, body, spirit, the three parts of you in many ways. Qigong, I can't remember the name of what they call them in Qigong, but there you go. The other thing I do notice that has shifted by the time of this new moon from me recording it on January the 29th is that Ceres has moved into Capricorn. And it's really time to start mastering that, creating those strong boundaries so you can make sure your needs are met, your nurturing, nourishing needs in all respects, mind, body, spirit, mothering yourself, finding your inner mother, the actual literal food as well, and your kind of nourishment that you put in your mouth, what you're eating, all of those kind of things. I think that's about it really for this new moon. It's quite the exciting one, but it's quite, it's pulling you into saying, do that focus, do that focus. It's time to really focus. Okay. So I'm going to read the symbols. Now, the Sabian symbol I will read first. According to Rudja, the symbol was written as a woman disappointed and disillusioned, courageously facing the future. But I'm actually going to read from Linda Hill, her sign, sabiansymbols.com, because she works with the symbols a lot. She wrote a whole book on it. She she wants to rewrite this symbol to read a woman courageously assessing her future. Now, I prefer that because Aquarius is this futuristic sign as well. But I guess there could be this disappointment and disillusion as well because of where we're coming from. But I really believe we're at this point of letting go of a lot of that and courageously assessing where we're going in the future. So I kind of like her reinterpretation of it. But there is a great deal about looking on disappointment as the teacher and reconnecting with what is available and possible. I always think of Uranus and Aquarius as very much about what else is possible? What am I finding here that's possible? What haven't I thought of before that's possible? But it requires courage to kind of face that and learn those lessons of perhaps disappointment and disillusionment. But either way, it really is about maintaining that purpose and that positive outlook. All right. And it's a form of rebirth and it is a new moon. The shadow of it, of course, can be that we could sit and wallow in failures and feel all that's lost and not see the beauty in life and that sense of giving up. And that could reflect how it might feel if we do not consciously really ground and calm that nervous system. Okay, because it is a very edgy kind of energy. So the symbols from John Sandbach, the Omega symbol, I've started using those a lot as well as the Chandra symbol. So the numerologist at work on a tropical island is the Omega symbol. He says this degree has a great desire to understand the workings of the universe. At its best, it's able to relate universal principles to the flow of life around it and to see those principles at play in all the processes of nature. At its highest, this becomes a deep and dynamic understanding of life that can be shared with others. It needs to be aware, though, or needs to beware, though, of isolating itself by focusing too intently on the life of the mind, to the neglect of connecting with the real and tangible transmutations going on around it in the here and now. So that's me talking about bringing it down into that body and calming that system to process everything out of the head, bring it down. So the Chandra symbol. Before I read that, don't forget to subscribe, thumbs up, all the things. And now let's dive into the Chandra symbol. Now you'll see why I felt called to pull this card. Let's just show it again. In fact, let me hold it up as I read the symbol. So the Chandra symbol for the new moon is a beautiful woman dressed in white. She is wearing a large silver crescent on her head. The crescent is pointing upward. This degree is capable of great receptivity to the messages coming in from its higher self, or the cosmos, whatever you call it. It's often through no longer being able to tolerate the disappointments and disillusions of life that we look beyond the material world around us and seek alignment with a higher, subtler energy. This degree always feels that urge underlying everything and is always willing to encourage others to also attune to spiritual truth. The phenomenal world of the senses is lush and chaotic, like the tropical island of the Omega symbol. Okay, remember that was a numerologist at work on a tropical island. But within it, there is always that part of ourselves which strives to tune in to the order, design, and harmony of it all. Doesn't that describe this card completely? I don't know if he was aware of this card in doing that. And this, to my mind, is connecting that mind cosmos, bringing it down into the body and down into source spirit within us. Okay. Which seems to be the message I am getting all the time of where we're going. But because this such a powerful, energetic, innovative, mind mappy kind of energy, we really need to focus it within in the dark of the moon. So look forward to that one and make sure you set aside some time on the day of the new moon, February the 9th at 5:59 p.m. Eastern. So 3:59 p.m. Mountain, 2:59 p.m. Pacific, 10:59 p.m. in the UK, and it'll be on the 10th for most people in Australia. But some of you will be able to just tune into it as you're in bed and say, let's do some breathing. You might have a restless night's sleep, for example. But I would have do something before you go to bed if you're in the UK to process this nervous energy before you get into bed, or find some breathing exercises that you can just do if you have a restless night to calm that nervous system, and that will help you process, which is something that is really a very, very exciting new moon. If you can feel those nerves as excitement as well and let them fly around like those butterflies, you'll make the most of it. Much love to you, and see you on the next video.